It's the 28th of May 2025. You're welcome back. Still unsettled, but still a good enough day, an improvement. We've had enough rain for now. You're welcome back to Val's Pictorial Weekly, and we hope to have a guest coming in soon, the great Molly McCrackin. We'll have her views on some of the affairs that's going on. Now, there is a bit of a video going around and a wee bit of talk and a wee bit of rumour and innuendo. I wouldn't have known what innuendo was, only for RTE was talking about it way back at the time of Charlie Haughey. Innuendo. There wasn't much of that around here now, I tell you. You wouldn't hear them talking about it much. But anyway, we're going to take a look at what happened. You see, the name of the video is A Puck in the Gob for Macron. It's a strange thing. He was going to Vietnam with the missus, Bridgie. He was going to Vietnam and he was getting off the plane when this happened. Now, it's awkward for me to get on the computer, but we're going to do our best for you here. And you'll be seeing it yourself. So I know you'll get a look at it yourself after on your own computer. Now, here we are. Now, I don't think I got the real bit there, so we're going to stop, pause. So now I'm going to try and get it here. It's at the very start of the video. See that? We'll play that again. He gets a touch on the gob. He gets a slap around the face, or a push or a shove, or whatever you like to call it, from somebody with a red sleeve. Have you got that? We'll give it to you again. We give it to you again, and it is not easy. Do you feel like waving to him? Anyway, then they go coming down off the plane. Now, he was on a trip to Vietnam. Hanoi, is it? And she doesn't seem to have been holding his hand. He put his hand kind of out. So he talks here that it was a squabble. He says, my wife and I are squabbling and joking. That's what he says. He says it was only a bit of an hour horsing around. And then they said in another place he was decompressing. He was decompressing. Anyway, we'll ask Molly what she thinks. Well, it definitely looks like a lover's tiff to me. You know, I'm a widow now, and I was married to John Joe McCrackin. He was a great lad. Now, the only wee bit of complaining I used to do, now, I always looked after him well, but he had a habit in the silage making of coming into the bedroom with his wellies on, and one night he forgot to take them off and I was asleep, and because I realised he was still wearing the wellies. Now there was a bit of a kick up about that, I have to say, but other than that, now we got on our way. Oh, God be good to him. But in this case, it looks like that there must have been a bit of a racket going on before the plane landed at all, but it's a funny kind of a way to decompress. That's all I can tell you now, Val. Now, the next little clip is interesting one, where this goes on a boat in Côte d'Azur, in the south of France. So because it's not like the Black Rock or what do you call that place in Wexford, Cortown Harbour. Is it playing it? Oh no, we'll give it another go. Right? It's a very short video and I have trouble getting it to play it, but sure, you get the general gist of it. Again, if I press the wrong button, I lose everything. So that's that video. We'll ask about Molly. Two grown men on a boat, kiss another. And did you remark there's too much of this old homemade sexuality going on in this country and in the European Union. I blame the European Union for a lot of this stuff. I voted no in all the referendums. But did you remark about it is that Mr. Macron, his stomach is going in and out. Did you remark that? We'll try and show you. Is it playing it? No, it's not. Now, if you look at yourself, you'll see that his belly, his stomach is going in and out. I couldn't do that. The only thing I ever seen that could move part of their body, other than their arms and legs, was a sow when they'd be a roving. She can move her ears. Now, it's difficult to get everything right, and the cat is underneath here looking for notice. And well, one of the things I'm going to show you now is Macron's wife, Bridget, has a nephew. I don't know, is it her sister's son or her brother's son? But they say that they're not. These people are not related at all. Just look at this. So you see Emmanuel Macron on the right, and you see this nephew there. I don't know which is right or left because I'm looking at it from my perspective here. So now these people are not related. So we'd asked about Molly. Well, because you know the horror like. They're very like other. You'd think they were either father or son or two brothers. In actual fact, you'd nearly think they were the same lad with two different photographs. But we're told they're not related. Like, I'd know their skin on a bush, to tell you the truth. I'd know their skin on a bush. It's very, very alike. I can't answer it anymore. I just take a better look at it here and see what I come up with. Aye, if you look at Emmanuel, he has blue eyes, whereas the other lad, the nephew, has brown eyes. So there you are. You can't page them, so there must be different people. But they're very alike in their facial expressions and in their appearances. It's an unbelievable mystery. I can't figure it out at all. One of the things about America, and this stuff about the sexuality of the wife of the president came up with Barack Obama, there's no birth certificate like here, and wait till you see they'll try to change that. At the moment, you can go into a registered office in Ireland, pay your €3, and you'll get a certificate of all births, marriages and deaths. And long may that continue. We should watch for that. Don't be surprised if they try and take it away. You cannot do the same in America, and I presume maybe you can't do it in France, because it should be possible to get the birth certificates of all these people. Now, the story with Emmanuel Macron is that when he was 14 and pushing 15, he was at school, and he formed a relationship with the teacher who was 40, going on 41. And she is said to be married and to have children. And there's very few pictures of them or who they are. There's an absolute absence of pictures. But some say that it was her brother that transitioned to being a woman. They deny that. Now, the American vlogger Candace Owens has done a lot of study on this, and definitely if I were to try to explain to you all the ins and outs that even I learned, I can't remember it, and you certainly wouldn't remember it either. What we've shown you so far is a picture of the two men. That's Emmanuel Macron and someone we don't know who was holidaying with him, kissing on a boat in Côte d'Azur, a lovely place in the south of France somewhere. And we've shown you the incident where he allegedly got a bit of a row and there was a bit of a tiff. And we got Molly's comment on it. Now, Macron wrote an autobiography, and he spent more time with his granny in the south of France on the Pyrenees than he did nearly at home, or nearly as much. And that is not unusual. In Ireland, it is very usual for particularly boys, maybe girls as well, to go to live with grandparents or even other parents. That was very common. It was very common where there'd be big families for maybe a couple with no family, if they were anywhere related at all, to take in a child of the other family. That was very common, so there's nothing big about that. But he does say that she spoke Pyrenees. It was on the Pyrenees Mountains between Spain and France, and that he wanted to learn Pyrenees, but it turns out there is no language, actual language of Pyrenees. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and that's a funny one. But this woman was a bit of a recluse, his grandmother, Mimi or something he called her, but he had two books, and she had them as well. And we're going to look at what these books were. Now, one of the books was by this guy. His name was Guide. I might actually get his first name. You see, French names are not easy remembered. Guide, and he had a Catholic upbringing in France, but he wrote a book in which he described going to Algeria, which was then a French colony, and raping Muslim boys. So he was an open pedocast. You know, I only learned recently, I always thought all types of things to do with abuse of children sexually was paedophilia, but a pedocast is actually a man who does actually have sex with boys. That's a pedocast, just one for you now. Anyway, this fellow wrote that he was released from the constraints of Catholic theology in the Catholic Church, and he went on a rampage of pedocastery, is that the name of it, in Algeria, and he described all his goings on. Now, not the nicest of people, but this was Macron's bedtime reading. Now, there was another fella here, and if I can get him up on this, and I might have to move to get a better internet. Now, it's Michel Tournier, Turnier, and he wrote a book called The Earl King in English, and in that book he describes how he views the bottoms, the posteriors, or the arses of young children, underage children obviously, and talks about them being pretty and being inviting. Now, I don't know the exact words, I don't want to put wrong words here because I haven't the actual words here, but he talks about the buttocks being naive and describes them in a very sexual way, in a very sexual way. Now, this is the reading of the that he was up to. Bear in mind, I'm limited here by my internet. It's not working well, so I'm a bit limited. But that's the books that he had beside his bed as he was growing up, and admits it in his autobiography. Now, don't forget, there's video footage. I did a video on it before there, showing Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister Merz of Germany, and Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, travelling on a train to or from the Ukraine recently, and they have a bag which appears to have a white substance in it. I naively said I believed it was Andrew's liver salts. Somebody else said, oh no, it can't be because it's not made anymore, but I believe it is still made anymore. So a while ago since I had it, I used to have it in my kit, but I don't have it recently. And so that's what they haven't explained what that was. They said it was nothing, and it showed Macron pulling it and putting it aside when the cameras was on. They don't seem to be very smart as to how to deal with the camera. Now, so we're on for 15 minutes. The point really is that if some of the things said about Macron are strongly said, he should, and so should Bridget, should reboot them by getting whatever tests are done. Now, Candace Owens, the American vlogger, has said a lot of stuff on this, and they threatened to sue her, but she wrote back and said, I want to know what was the natural gender of Bridget Macron. Now, she had a brother, she says, that's now dead. And the kind of allegation that's been made is that she transitioned, it's a big word nowadays, she transitioned from a man to a woman. and that shortly after she met Macron, she had transitioned to a woman. And now there's 26 years between them. And him getting a clout on the face from her would maybe indicate, if that's what happened, that he is in an abusive relationship. But I can't just say that. It's not fair to say that too much either. I mean, many's a one does have rows. A lot of families does have rows, and I'm sure there's many's a man going to crack at the saucepan now and then. But could be flying on a plane, there could be all sorts of stuff. We'll ask Molly what she thinks. Well, apart from wearing the Wellingtons in the bed, one of the few things that John Joe now, he used to annoy me when we'd be going somewhere, he'd accuse me of being late. I mean, he used to say, we'll be lucky to get into the Mass before the consecration. He said, we'll miss the collection. And he'd be blaming me for being late. Like, and I wasn't a woman now to be late. I wouldn't be late. And he'd be getting out, and he'd be out in the car waiting for me, and then he'd be giving out stick to me. I tell him I'm not putting up with it. I never hit him now. I never hit him deliberately. There might have been a few accidents, all right. When I'd be putting in the cattle, he'd be hitting him with a stick, and he might get a blow over it if he was too close. But that was accidental. But this thing about the president of France, you'd think you'd have a wee bit more decorum. Wouldn't you think you'd have a wee bit more decorum? Thank you for that, Molly. Great contribution there from Molly McCrackin. She's a widow woman now, you know. I don't know if she's on the lookout of a man or not, but she's doing the best. Actually, she's doing better running the farm than when John Joe was alive. Would you believe that? And that was often noticed with fellas that days. They think they couldn't be done without. I'm not so sure about that. Now, it's in the Bible. Better that a millstone be tied round your neck and you threw into the sea than to spread scandal about people. But I want to show Molly and you people a photograph. You know, a photograph taken with Michelle Obama. There was one or two videos which, now I'm a farmer with cows, so like, I'd have an idea what's a bull and a heifer, like, you know, but we'll have a wee look anyway at that. There was points raised about the photograph that showed certain types of equipment. We'd say, what would you call it? Wedding tackle, like, you know. But we'll have a look at this here, folks. And please bear with me. It's very difficult because I'm constrained here by the way the thing works. So here's the pictures. And it's very hard to get big ones. Here's the pictures. I don't know, are they the same pictures? I'm really not sure. But here are the photographs on X of Bridget Macron. And that's definitely Bridget Macron. And in another photograph that's not as close up, you can see Emmanuel. They're having a bit of fun on holidays. So we just stop there a minute. Now here's the complete photograph. I hope you can see it there. So you can see Emmanuel. You can see, I think one of them is the man he was kissing earlier. There's one of them in the water. And then you can see his wife, Bridget. There, do you see it there? It's getting very bright there. His wife, Bridget. And we'll try and take it away and put it back again. We'll just store it again. It's a clear picture from me, but it doesn't come out so clear on the. So there it's there again. And, well, one of the things I notice is that her cap is very small. That's a very sunny area. You could get sunburned there. Her cap is very small. Do you notice that now? If you look, I'd be afraid she'd get sunburned. Do you see there? Well, I don't know. All we can do is ask Molly. Molly, you see the photograph there of Bridgie Macron. Macron, you don't pronounce the end, and she's having a bit of a enjoyment there out in Côte d'Azur, and because I think that cap's dangerous. She could get sunburned there. What do you think, Molly? Now at the Mull Fair, one evening I was there, I saw a showman standing underneath the fair, and he said, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. See them all, they're standing in a row. There's big ones, small ones, ones as big as your head. Sing and roll a pole, a penny a pig. At Mull Fair, one evening I was there, I saw a showman standing at the fair. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, standing in a row. There's big ones, small ones, ones of every bed. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. There they are, all standing in a row. The big ones, small ones, ones as big as your head. A pole, a penny a pig. Sing and roll a pole, a penny a pig. Sing and roll a pole, a penny a pig. Bing, roll a pole, roll a penny a pig. Molly, I showed you a photograph of Bridget Macron holidaying in the south of France, and I asked you a question. I thought her headwear was totally inadequate for that hot climate, and I was afraid she'd get sunstroke. And you come along and you start singing, I've got a lovely bunch of coconut. Oh, what a lovely bunch of coconuts to do with the question I asked you. What was it to do? I mean, what is it to do? There's the photograph again of Bridgie Macron. And you look at the sun that's peeling down there. Now, I wouldn't mind she not wearing her rings, because often enough if you're swimming and that, you wouldn't wear the rings. You see there? So, you know, the thing about it is, I always thought she was a woman. It's easy fooling me. But I don't know where Bridgie gets this idea that you have to start singing about I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Well, Val, you asked me to give me opinion. I looked at the photograph and I think the cap's all right. You had a cap like that on you the other day. Well, I mean, I know the sun's not the same as here in Ireland, and very bad in France. Me and John Joe, we went to Benidorm for a week one time. It was hot. But the thing about the photograph is, she's not too well fed. She's a scrawny creature now. And you asked me why I sang the song. Well, it's hypnotic suggestion. It just came into my head when I looked at the picture. I got a lovely bunch of coconuts. There they are, all standing in a row. There's big ones, small ones, ones as big as your head. Ong and roll a pole, a penny a pig. It's a fair song, like, and it's the holiday atmosphere came up when I looked at the photograph. The first thing I thought of was a bunch of coconuts for some reason. I don't quite know, but anyway, I want to help you with your Hall's Pictorials Weekly as best you can. I'm totally confused. I'm confused. Me and John Joe had none of that whole crack. There was none of that kissing. If I got him kissing another man, he'd get a puck in the gob. More than Macron got, I can tell you. Well, he wasn't that way inclined. The only problem we ever had was when we bought the bull, a good Shirley bull, £2,000 in shape time, and the beggar's get turned out to be gay. He turned out to be gay. I don't know much of it. This was all. There was none of this in my time. In my time, a lot of people would go to Fatima and to go to Lourdes to pray. You wouldn't get them going down to Covert around Côte d'Azur in my time. I mean, it's a totally different thing. But that's the picture there. And yeah, it's a controversial thing now. It's controversial. Thank you, Molly, for that. Thank you very much, Molly. Oh, Molly's a great commentator, very astute commentator. Anyway, thank you, Molly, thank you. Now, the thing about it is, Macron is a leader of the free world. He has put poor old Marine Le Pen, his political opponent, that she can't stand for election. He can change that law anytime. He's part of the clique that want all this woke stuff, want pro-European, want to take away our rights to free speech. He's in with Starmer. They get on like a house on fire, as do they get on with Merz and his predecessor Scholz, and Zelensky is their pet. They've already hugged him. They've already been hugging him big time. If he's not careful, I'd say if Zelensky's not gay, he'll get a big French kiss. That's the next thing he'll get. I don't think he'll get it from Trump. So that's the story. I'm not giving you the full thing on it. I'm not giving you the full story, except that is there a suggestion that the whole damn European Union is just one big homosexual racket? I'm not against gay people as such, but people often ask me why I voted for gay marriage. I voted against everything else, but why did I vote for gay marriage? Well, I just felt that I didn't have the right to deny other people some type of happiness. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was right, but I do support what the new Pope has said, that there's marriages between a man and a woman, and that I think can never change. Anyway, I don't want to pontificate on that. What is the story with Bridget? It's very strange. Right. She married a pupil at the school. He was only 15. She left. She had a husband. Whether she had kids or not, I don't know. There's no photographs of her pregnant. There doesn't seem to be any photographs of these people pregnant women. There's a dearth or a scarcity of photographs of her family, whatever. There's even a suggestion that her brother, Jean Michel, is actually her. But there is a photograph of him in later life. He died. Very hard to figure. And like that, whatever's wrong in these countries, a good measure of freedom is if you can get a person's birth certificate, marriage certificate and death certificate. But in many countries you can't, but you can in Ireland and Britain. And that's why you don't have so much of these things. Now, you see matters in Britain, I'll say no more there. You saw in the United States with the Biden administration, it was all sorts of stuff to do with the homosexual agenda. I'm just trying to get the video up here. My internet's slow, but if I get cut off, you'll understand. That's it. My internet's gone down. I can't show it to you. But anyway, the picture was of the opening of the Olympic ceremony in Paris 2024. And it showed a big, obese, so-called transgender, a man who pretended to be a woman, big, with an imitation of a halo, as you would see on Christ, and his disciples around him. And that is one of the most profound paintings by, I think it's Leonardo da Vinci, that there is in the Christian faith. They wouldn't do it on other faiths. And that happened in France, and Macron had no problem with it. And he had no problem with them beating a man beating a woman in those Olympics either. It's a weird situation. I have succeeded with great difficulty, because of my internet being down and given trouble, to bring what's happening to your attention, folks, on 28 minutes, so you can do further research. There's a good lot of speculation about it, and maybe I've helped to advance it a wee bit with the help of Molly McCrackin. God, great woman. Thank you very much, Molly. And comment underneath, and we'll see you back for something else. But there's no doubt Macron got a bit of. He could have said she should have said there was bread on his chin, and she was rubbing it off. They hadn't the wit to say that. There was a bit of a tiff, and if you look at the footage again, you'll see that there was an air attendant there, a lady, and she was not in the plane. She was there, and she saw it happening, and you can watch her moves, her body language, and there's something red here, whatever it is on her coat. That was noticed as well. No doubt it won't be the end of it. If we didn't have the internet, it just shows you all this would be covered up, every bit of it. I wonder will you hear it on any other medium except maybe here and a few YouTube channels. That's what's running our country. That's what's running France. And it has to be said that in the last election, the people of France did vote for Macron. They did vote for him. And I'm making the point there. And all his woke stuff. What's he trying to do? To kill as many as he can in France. In Ukraine. He wants the war in Ukraine to escalate. He wants the Americans in. He wants utter mayhem in Europe. World War III. That's what these people are, and they should be identified. As bad as I am, you might get me drinking a half of a whiskey, now I won't deny that, but you won't get me smoking any of that queer stuff, and you won't get me doing much of these things that these people are supposed to be role models in society. So we'll see you back. Comment underneath. I'm doing the best I can with the internet down, and we'll see you back. But I hope I brought that a bit to your attention, and that at least you're informed that there's an issue over this whole thing. Good luck, bye bye, and thank you.